The Bitcoin Group, the American original. For over the last 10 years, the sharpest Satoshis, the best Bitcoins, the hardest cryptocurrency talk. We'd like to welcome our panelists. Victoria Jones from Satoshi's Page.
Hello, hello, everybody.
Welcome back, Victoria. And I'm Thomas Hunt from the World Crypto Network. Moving on, the price of Bitcoin is 89,615. That's about even today, with a high of 91,000, a low of 88,000, a volume of 1,760 Bitcoin changing hands. That's $1 for 1,111 or 116 Satoshis. Issue 1. Cathie Wood says the Bitcoin price is nearing the end of the down cycle, predicts the shallowest 4-year decline. ARK Invest CEO Cathie Wood says she believes Bitcoin is nearing the end of its current down cycle. Victoria Jones, they've hardly said the bull cycle is over. Some people still think it's a bull cycle, but now they're calling for the end of the bear cycle that never happened. What do you think about the shallowest bear cycle in history and the predicted end by Cathie Wood?
Well, we all know that, Bitcoin seems to be in a perpetual bull cycle, but obviously, Bitcoiners understand that, it does fluctuate. And generally speaking, when it's a down cycle, typically it takes about a year. So I think Cathie Wood is premature in that assumption, like many of the people who were happy to state that, we were about to have something very different in terms of the bull cycle at the end of last year, who were completely wrong. So, all of these analysts who are saying that it's different this time are more than likely wrong. Not only that, but, there are other factors that are impacting Bitcoin at the moment, including the economy and also, issues to do with its own software. So, yeah, I think I don't agree with Cathie there. I think she's not taken everything into consideration.
Yeah, it is a different market than it was before, and Bitcoin is so heavily linked to the stock market. Everyone always says, why are we going up or down? Why does this good news not affect it? Michael Saylor buys billions of dollars of Bitcoin and still the price goes down. I think, again, it's those wonderful Wall Street people who we all wanted so badly, and now they're here. And again, the problem with them is they're shorting and they're longing. They have other positions. So if the stock market goes down, they have to cover all their longs that failed. They have to put the money into shorts, whatever it is. The thing they sell is Bitcoin. They don't see it as a safe haven. They don't see it as a savings account. It's yet another risk investment. And when there's some of risk investments and the stocks go down, they sell the Bitcoin to cover it. And we see this again and again. We've also seen quite an amazing pattern of both the short investors and the long investors on Bitcoin, the people who are using margins and the margin leverage, betting ahead, shorts and longs, wiped out cycle and cycle again. We've even seen moves so powerful that they wipe out the longs, then wipe out the shorts, then return to the middle. Again, the only true position seems to be holding the actual asset, riding Bitcoin, seeing what happens once again, because you don't know when that 20% up day comes. In the same way, you don't know when the 20% down day comes. You try to ride these things out. But if you're in there with the shorts and the longs, your position gets called. And unless you can cover the call, our position being that the stock market people are taking their Bitcoin to cover their own calls, you lose the entire investment. A disaster for them. And I think it's a disaster for a lot of people who've been shorting and longing this Bitcoin market. Victoria Jones, more on the price, or should we move to the magic 8 ball?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think it's just about shorting and longing either. I mean, I think it's important to acknowledge the fact that Bitcoin's software protocol, which is still influenced by the miners, and the miners being able to pay for their electricity, still has a part to play in this. So the miners tend to be strategic about when they sell their Bitcoin, which has an impact on the price. We've also got stuff going on in the general economy. Many pundits predicting a meltdown in the AI bubble, which could happen at any moment. But at the same time, you've also got Trump trying to persuade the Federal Federal Reserve to lower interest rates, which could send Bitcoin rocketing. So, it seems to be a catastrophe either way, but it's really difficult to know which way it's going to go at this stage. So it's not straightforward. There are many, many different factors that are influencing at this stage. But I think the 4-year cycle still has a powerful influence because the people who understand Bitcoin the best, who are the ones who've been in it the longest, understand the mechanics of Bitcoin that influence those 4-year cycles. And so anyone who understands that will often, buy and sell their asset in tandem with that, because you'd be silly not to. Anyone who's been around long enough knows how devastating it is to have done really well in Bitcoin and then not take any profits and watch it go down for a year. So, people who've understood that are also part of the market. So, yeah, I don't think just the financial system being involved now is the full story. I think it's a very superficial way of categorizing it.
It's also a very uncertain time in the world, as the president threatening to invade Greenland, breaking up the NATO alliance, breaking up the EU trade deal, all of that potentially happening. And to just stay on the sideline and to keep your risky investment is very hard. You might say to yourself, this is a good time to have some food money or maybe a little bit less debt. And I think that can happen to a lot of players at both small and large levels, who say, maybe this isn't the best time to try to go for another yacht. Maybe I'm happy with 1 to 3 yachts rather than 7 to 10. But who knows? It's all happening out there. And like Victoria said, the AI meltdown is definitely a potential issue. People keep talking about it. Then the same way, other people push back and they say, AI will last forever. These companies are going to survive, except maybe OpenAI. Nobody knows. But it's a very hot market. And they said they're going to make billions and billions of dollars from AI, and no one seems to know how. The worst problem of that seems to be that the victory case they all agreed on was AGI, general intelligence for the AI, which we all say will kill all of humanity. So the only way that your business makes money is if you kill all of humanity. And now we're pushed to the brink where this beautiful investment cycle, and I think you guys have seen it in more detail. I need to talk about it. NVIDIA invests in Microsoft, they invest in OpenAI, OpenAI invests in NVIDIA and Microsoft. Like, this circle of money has created this thing where the only thing that will satisfy it is AGI, where it trains itself, which the people smarter than me say kills all of humanity. So good business, guys. I mean, we used to just have the guy that was selling us books, and he was going to sell things cheaper. We had the Walmart guy who was making things cheaper. He was going to sell you a cheaper broom. But now the only way your business works is complete death of the species. So with that positive note, let's go to the exit question. Will the price of Bitcoin be higher or lower this time next week? Victoria, we had kind of a push last week. We were similarly at 90%, $90,000. We're around there again today. What do you think, higher or lower?
Well, given that the dollar seems to be crashing right now, maybe it might be a bit higher. So I'll get with higher.
I do love the people that keep posting how the Bitcoin price may have gone back up, but the value of the dollar is down so much that you actually have less money. I hate that. I also hate the whole gold bug, silver bug parade that we have going on right now, where they're like, Bitcoin -7 for the year, gold, silver, up, up, up. And it's continuing so far this year.
Silver's doing amazingly well.
Gold
Yeah.
is doing incredible. They're kicking Bitcoin's butt. So if that's a thing you held on the side, you might have held it for 10 or 20 years. But this is your heyday. This is the great day. But we'll ask ourselves, will the price of Bitcoin be higher this time next week? Shaking the ball for good luck. It says, my sources say no. My sources say no. The ball is pessimistic. Moving on to issue 2. NYSE, the New York Stock Exchange, targets weekend investors with new blockchain platform for 24/7 stock trading. The Intercontinental Exchange-owned operator is seeking SEC approval for a new venue that promises instant settlement and stablecoin funding to meet the growing global demand for around-the-clock markets. Thomas Hunt, what do you think about this? Well, we've talked about this for years. We've made fun of the stock market, how they're closed all the time. Here's Bitcoin like 7-Eleven. It's open every single day, 365 days a year, even better than 7-Eleven, really. 365, 24/7, that whole acronym thing. And now the stock market's finally going to do it. The NYSE, although it's not converting the main market, they'll still have that. It's creating a secondary market where they're going to use tokens. Of course, the disaster for this being all of the layer 2 and Ethereum and Ripple and everyone else who said, we're going to be the rail. We're going to be the rail for stock tokenization. Turns out NYSE would rather just do it themselves, keep the profits themselves, have their own system. So very bad for those ideas of what those coins would be used for. Very good for people who want to trade stocks. And I think it would also be great because it would get rid of that thing where Bitcoin moves on the news and then Bitcoin moves on the news again when the stock market's open. Now we can both move on the news, and then we can both move on the news again when the normal stock market opens. I predict that eventually all of the liquidity in the normal stock market may move to this global 24/7, 365 stock market that they're building, allegedly on a blockchain, which it seems like they did that years ago. Victoria Jones, what do you think? NYSE is back. Everyone's excited. Of course, this didn't move the price of anything, and it doesn't use any of the altcoin rails who all promised this would be their bread and butter.
Yeah, I mean, it's hardly surprising, really. And if you've watched what's happened to Bitcoin and various digital currencies over the years, it's almost, their standard operating procedure to, figure out what the new thing is and copy all the features that benefit it before the new thing kind of takes over. The only thing it can't really copy is the decentralized nature of Bitcoin, which is one of the reasons why Bitcoin is the one that still wins. But yeah, for the time being, the stable coins definitely serve the banks in that it can allow them to create a 24-hour stock exchange. It also deals with the issue of international payments, which is one of the things that Bitcoin was meant to be good at. So yeah, they've taken the features that suited them and trying to integrate it into the stock market because it's just the next step in their game plan to kind of keep themselves going before it all falls apart. Yeah, watch this space.
And I also want to say there's a possibility that this brings absolute madness to stockbrokers. And I'm ready for it. Let's do it. Bring it down. They're going to need teams. They're going to be working in shifts. You're probably going to hire not just a broker, but a team of brokers, with the idea being that they're going to sleep in certain shifts to cover that market all the time. And for far too long, this has been the venue of tech support, of startups and entrepreneurs and other people like myself who had to answer tech support calls at all day and night. And it's coming for you, stockbrokers. Your time is over. Your vacations, your weekends, your everything. Stocks all the time. At Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's, all these days where you're like, oh, the stock market's not running. I don't have to work today. I watch it go up and down. They're going to go insane. I predict there's going to be lots of them who can't handle the idea of shifts. They can't handle the idea of passing it off to someone else. And this has been a problem for Bitcoin traders for years. When I first started back in the day, it was like, do you sleep in Bitcoin? Do you sleep in dollars? What do you do? And now it's come to you, stock market people. There is no sleep. So I think that's going to be fun. I agree with
they've got
Starship.
AI, Thomas. They don't need to. They can use AI until that blows up.
And that's the same thing. That's actually kind of perfect, though, because with AI, people talking about how it could use Bitcoin and stable coins and other things as its currency, AI also not sleeping, being plugged into this stock market, potentially an amazing thing, also potentially a disaster. Imagine if one of the stockbrokers actually did sleep and the AI put the entire position on the line and won or lost or other things that it could be doing. Just the controls alone, it's going to be fun. Somebody's going to write a lot of software. Somebody's going to write a lot of other software that breaks that software. And I'm going to read about it. It's going to be fun stuff.
And we're going to talk about it here.
And we're going to talk about it here. That's right. Shout out to Starship in the chat. He says they don't need a blockchain. You only need a blockchain if you want to be decentralized. And the NYSE, by definition, is centralized. A blockchain is pointless for them. So we don't know why they're clombering onto this blockchain world. They need the settlement time. They need the real world settlement time. I don't know what it is. He's right. I don't know why they can't operate their normal systems at night. Maybe they need those people with the little pieces of paper in the pit. And again, you own the building with the pit. Maybe you could just run that 24/7, 365. I know, shocking ideas. Have the janitors come through. I mean, whatever. Keep trading stocks if it's so important. And they dedicate their whole lives to this. So it must be important. But they can't figure out just to run it 24/7, 365. I don't know, but they're going to try this thing. We'll see. Check out worldcryptonetwork.com. We've got 4,740 videos. You could watch them for 3 months, 23 days, and 10 hours straight. And that would be a cool science experiment if someone set up a TV just to play that to see if it worked. Moving on to issue 3, Brian Armstrong spoke recently at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. Let's hear a little bit of his conversation.
Governor, you have to address this. Is the euro in danger from a Bitcoin standard?
No, I'm a bit skeptical, Brian. Sorry to say it about this idea of the Bitcoin standard. We left the gold standard, but the gold was only a technical mean. What is important is what you say, Bert, that monetary policy and money is part of sovereignty. And we live in democracies, and I think the public role is key. And if we lose that, really you lose a key function of democracy. That said, I always keep repeating that money, as long as it exists for centuries, has been a public-private partnership. You need a public anchor, whatever its form is. Remember, and silver and gold were sovereign assets, so it was on the public side. And then you had banknotes, and you will have CBDC. But anyway, the most important part of payments is in the private sphere, and this is the development of tokenized private money. But this tokenized private money must be regulated to inspire trust, confidence.
It's fascinating that you say that. Brian, you mentioned a complementary role that you could play.
So I think that crypto is very good for fiat currencies. It's very good. Bitcoin is like good as a check and balance on deficit spending, because when there is a lack of trust, or people, from like in a U.S. context, if people are worried about inflation, or maybe in places like Argentina or Turkey or Nigeria, they are going to flee to the thing that they believe is going to store value more. So I think in general it's going to be very complementary, and like you said, I think it comes down to trust. And so if fiat currencies can maintain trust and not have the money printer kind of debasing everybody, then they'll survive. But if countries that have bad behavior on that dimension, Bitcoin doesn't have a money printer. The supply is fixed, and people will go to it in times of uncertainty, kind of like they did with gold.
The guarantee for trust is independence on central bank side. And we have a core mandate, and we are accountable to that. But sorry to say that I trust more independent central banks with a democratic mandate than private issuers of Bitcoin, which have a very useful role. But
Bitcoin is a decentralized protocol. There's actually no issuer of it. So that's in the sense that central banks have independence. Bitcoin is even more independent. There's no country or company or individual who controls it in the world. And so anyway, I think it's a healthy competition, because if people can decide which one they trust more, and I think it's actually the greatest accountability mechanism on deficit spending.
Bill?
I think the wolf is in the hen house. I think we've gotten as far, all the way inside there. I mean, can you believe this, Victoria? He's there on the stage with them. And the guy's talking about the public role of the banks. And at first he's talking about an accountability of the banks to society. But later on, he says that it is a command and that they have power over the money and that everything will be fine. And then Brian gets out there and he says, oh, the private issuers of Bitcoin could change their mind and issue it differently. He says, no, there are no private issuers. And it's like this thing has appeared at their meeting. There's all these bank people who are very legitimate. And then there's Brian, the kid from the startup from the Bitcoin thing. And he's there on the stage and they have to take him seriously. And he's got a nice suit and he's dressed up and all this stuff. But the fox is in the hen house and it's too late. The guy doesn't even realize what he's up against. He's like, we will control the issuance. We will make things fine. CBDCs are okay. Sovereign money, king's money is okay. Has to have a public anchor. Tokenized money must be controlled. And then everyone already says like the apex predator is already here. Like the honey badger is already here. The thing that's going to eat your lunch money is in the room with you. And they're in complete denial of it and also seemingly not very well informed. Like he tries to paint the Bitcoin issuers as if the miners were issuing it or voting on its issuance or that Coinbase had any kind of say. And Brian himself is like legit Bitcoin maxi there. He's going, oh, we're powerless. We're the most powerful Bitcoin company in the world. We can't make it speed up or slow down. If there's a war, if there's whatever, we're going to do, this many Bitcoin a minute. And, 20 million of them are already mined. Like it's already in the hands. Victoria, what do you think of this incredible speech? I'm glad we played it all. I think you were right. The opening sections where they were talking about the bank money and it's like they're acting like their thing's going to survive. And it's just like, it's like people bringing out the records or the cassette tapes or the 8-tracks or any of the previous formats that have been destroyed by the digital to analog transition, which is bigger than all of us, right? You can like Bitcoin, you can hate it. You can like MP3s, you can hate them. But the minute that the compression technology was there, the minute the Bitcoin technology and all of its complexity, even as though Linux combined many tools together was there, boom. Like it's over for the incumbents. It's over for the old systems. Look at NYSE adopting tokenized trading. Even if it doesn't need a blockchain, it's the same. Who are they competing against? The Bitcoin that doesn't stop. What do you think, Victoria? Pretty big moment for Bitcoin history. I don't even think the banks realize like what has broken through them today.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit of a mic drop on Brian Armstrong's part, and well done, so eloquently stated against someone who is so blatantly ignorant. It's mind-blowing really, that these people who have been around for so long, it's like they are so comfortable in their hubris that they have no idea what they're up against. The guy makes a valid point that losing fiat currency would mean that we lose our democracy. Our politics is very much tied in with our money, and so this is the part that fiat currency has to play. And I think it's also why stable coins have a very helpful role at the moment, because they're aiding in that transition. They're almost introducing the idea of digital currencies to the existing financial system. But ultimately, Brian is right. Even if you convert the whole New York Stock Exchange to a blockchain token, as an interim measure, eventually you're going to be measuring the US dollar, whether it's a CBDC or not, against Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a check or balance against their irresponsible handling of that fiat money. And unfortunately, so few people understand how the existing financial system works. They can't even people who work in banks and at the World Economic Forum cannot fully comprehend what it is that they're up against. What an interesting time to be alive and know what's going on.
It really is like the first 5 minutes of The Matrix. The whole world has changed, special effects wise, movie wise, thought wise. And Agent Smith says to the police officer, he says, "I'm sorry, Lieutenant, your men are already dead." Like the fiat currency is already gone. The fact that Brian's in the room with them to tell them about it and that they don't know is so much more embarrassing for them. The tech support guy has come to the house and he's like, "Hi, big bankers, you have a computer problem. This computer program can do what you do better without you." And they say, "Oh, well, there will always be a need for us. We have a historic partnership with the people and we were sovereign by the king." And there's always been, and the tech support guy is trying to explain him in as plain words. He's like, "No, the Bitcoin issuance doesn't care about you, doesn't care about the sovereign, doesn't care about your license or your ability to print money or your central bank or your history, or your big building, whatever the Fed's building, all of that." And then the guy's like, "Oh, but the issuers, the Bitcoin issuers, we will reach them, the miners, we will tell them, we will say, hey, we lean on you. Give us what we want, right? Do what we say." And the tech support guy has to say to them, "No, it just comes every 10 minutes with a bunch of random computers and we can block them all. And we can shut down the internet, but we can't shut down the internet. That'll wreck every other business. So if you don't shut down the internet, it's going to keep going. And this is it's the most interesting, but the most boring story of our times. And what's great about it is that the millennials don't care and the boomers don't know it's happening. And there's this little sliver of a generation in between, Generation Z or Generation X or Y, whatever we are.
That everyone forgot about.
Everyone forgot about, who can see the digital to analog transition, who see the card catalog in the back of Big Bang Theory. And they're like, oh, a card catalog. And they're like, oh yeah, we made a digital one of those. And we converted up. And no one uses the card catalog anymore. Even if you had like a tactile memory and you're like, oh, it's so wonderful, sliding the drawers in and out. And they have all these drawers full of money. And the same way they had these drawers full of albums and CDs and records and movies and Blu-rays and DVDs. And they're like, each successive industry is like, we'll be fine. We have a plan to survive the analog to digital revolution, which again makes everything into that machine that was built by Xerox, right? As I move my mouse that Apple stole from Xerox, Xerox is a copy machine company. So if you're going to have media on the system that was built by Xerox and Apple and Microsoft, who stole from Xerox, it's going to be copied. It's just a disaster for all of their old systems. And the idea that this kind of Bitcoin Commons could have been created, this kind of Linux of Bitcoin, this open source money, is so bad for their business, and that they don't see it. And even when Brian's driving the Trojan horse right in there, and he's pretty clear about it, he's like, I've got a whole Trojan horse behind me, and they don't even see it. It's just amazing. And it's amazing that they continue to be blind to it. I think it also helps. I mean, I like complaining about this, but I do think it fits in. Hiring the old speakers on TV to tell you about the new currency has kept them completely in the dark. They've got Scaramucci out there. They've got all these other financial analysts who are now, I'll tell you about Bitcoin. Oh, it's got a chance of this and this and that. They don't understand the revolution that's going on. So the information that these people are getting, whether from their media sources or their insider reports or whatever they're getting, it's not analyzing the system properly. It's not seeing the big black swan out there. And it's amazing to see it keep going. We have one more clip from Davos here. CZ from Binance, again, I can't believe they invite this guy, but they did. But it's actually really impressive. As it says here, Binance handled the withdrawal of $14 billion in a week. Let's hear CZ.
In December 2023, in one day, there was maximum withdrawal of $7 billion US equivalent of assets from Binance.com. No issues. In that week, there was a few days before that, it was up like, couple hundred million, a billion, and then 7 billion, and then a billion. In that week, total $14 billion US worth of assets got withdrawn from the platform. No issues. In a bank, I don't know of any bank that can handle that. In December 2020.
Really impressive brag here from CZ and Binance, showing how they handled a $14 billion withdrawal in a week. Crypto exchanges, Bitcoin itself, the way it moves money, or whatever we want to call money, property, value, things of value, the way it moves value is like nothing else in the world. And, they're completely blind to this. They're worried that CZ's getting a pardon, or he's a criminal, or he moves his exchange from here to there. Now, I think it's in Dubai, which seems like a great place for it. But look at this guy beating the banks at their own game, moving billions and billions of dollars without any trouble, without his bank going out of business, without his exchange going down, no effects. $14 billion moved in a week. Victoria Jones, what do you think about CZ and Binance? Just again, the banks don't see it. they think that this guy, is a joke, or that he's not important or impressive. But look at what his organization is accomplishing right under their noses. They could not do this. I think that's incredibly true. I think he nails them here.
Yeah, it is very impressive, and I think Binance is getting close to being, the most robust financial institution on the planet at this rate. I've got no idea, how much money the Bank for International Settlements is handling, but it'd be interesting to make the comparison. But yeah, well done, Binance.
And again, an impressive show for Bitcoin at the Davos World Economic Forum. I think that, as we see here, the panel is 4 bankers and one Bitcoiner. I think we're going to see that go 3-2, 3-3, 2-3 the other way, 1-4. I don't think the bankers have a future in this industry. I think that people who are more hybrid bankers like Brian or CZ will rise above, and their companies will buy up and own the other companies. Moving on to issue 4, Bitcoin business. Las Vegas, businesses accept Bitcoin payments as cryptocurrency gains mainstream adoption. According to Fox 5, local Las Vegas news, Valley establishments from restaurant chains to juice bars now offer a new digital currency offering. And this story, and especially the video, have really been making the rounds recently. We talk a lot about the potential for Bitcoin adoption. And again, the idea being that as hard as it's been to motivate one side, the chicken and the egg, that the horrible truth about Bitcoin adoption is it'll happen all at once. All at once, retail will be interested. All at once, Wall Street and the stock market will be interested. And it'll just be raining good fortune on Bitcoin. You look down, both your hands will be full, because that's when everyone will want it. And it's that universal demand that you can't just turn on, and you can't have we had a movement, we tried all those things, but it's just going to be demand. All of a sudden, everyone wants your Bitcoin, and they'll take it at their business. So this is a small story, but an exciting trend. We also wanted to say another small story. Shake Shack is so happy with their Bitcoin promotion. They're handing out bonuses to their workers. It's great, but it's 21 cents an hour. So it's not that great, really. I'm sure the people who own the stock or the people that own the company do much better. And again, this 21 million Bitcoin thing, they could have given them $21. They could have given them $2.10. But 21 cents is fine. It got a bunch of news. It got a bunch of headlines. Victoria, what do you think? Las Vegas, businesses accepting Bitcoin. And of course, the Shake and Shack being a big success. They say that a lot of people are paying in Bitcoin. They think that it's getting them new customers at their stores. And they also went hard into beef tallow and the whole Make America Healthy Again agenda. Again, the right-wing Bitcoin combination again. But seems to be working for Shake and Stack, Shake and Shake, or whatever it is. Shake and Stack, Stack and Shake. I don't know. Steak and Shake.
Yeah, I mean, good for them. This is exactly the phenomenon I described in my book that I wrote in 2020, 6 years ago. Exactly this. I've maintained for a long time that it would be businesses adopting Bitcoin that will really make the difference. And even in that little clip, if people play it, they mention the fact that one of the main reasons why they're doing that is because they're saving between 1% and 3% in their card transaction fees, which is, is just a no-brainer when you're a business. The thing about Bitcoin is it's the purchaser who pays the transaction fee. And if you're using something like Lightning, that is minimal. But it means the business is not actually taking that load. And when you think that every single payment that goes through a business is actually subject to a 1% to 3% charge by the card issuer, when you actually do the maths on that, that's an incredible hit to a business, to be actually taking a percentage of their turnover rather than their profit. If you do the maths, that's, it magnifies how much you're taking off the profit. I mean, even taxes only come off the profit, they don't come off the turnover. So once you do the calculation, sometimes a 1% take of your turnover can be a 30% take from your profit, depending on how big your business is and how expensive the expenses are. So yeah, it's just a basic calculation, but it's really hard for people to it appears to be really hard for people to convey that message to businesses, but that's the immediate selling point. If I was the Bitcoin consultant over in America, that's be the thing I would lead with whenever I actually, go through their door in order to sell them on it. Not to mention the fact that you can actually hold on to the Bitcoin and hold it in your business savings and then earn from the appreciation of it. All of these strategies are in my book from 6 years ago. So yeah, good for them. Glad to see it's finally being implemented.
Well, and as hard as it is to get the consumers to realize what's going on, if you tell them directly, it works. I go to a local dog grooming place and they say, okay, if you want to use your credit card, it's going to be a 3% extra fee on top of that. Or you can use Cash App, or you can use Venmo, or, you know, it doesn't have to be Bitcoin necessarily. It's more about these other payment rails. And as a consumer, when someone says that to you, oh, well, there's some setup time. You got to set up one of those apps. Once you're set up, it's about the same as tapping your card. It's about the same as tapping your phone. And if they train their customer a little bit, they get that reward. And I'm pretty sure, especially with a business like dog grooming or anything else where they come back regularly, once you've trained your customer once, they'll continue using Cash App because it really is no difference. It hits your bank account, it hits your credit card anyway. It just goes through this intermediary, whether it's Bitcoin or Cash App or whatever. And I've also seen another interesting thing here in Las Vegas, in a restaurant, in a bathroom. They had a sign in favor of cash. And it was a little kind of a propaganda sign where it was like, cash is king. Cash helps our business keep more of our money. We love it when you spend cash. Please spend cash. And while it wasn't by the register and it wasn't by the front door, it might have been a little hidden. It's a little sign that, like you're saying, Victoria, these businesses are tired of this extra tax to use this payment rail and this giant industry of payment companies having their own conferences and everything, Money 2020, and all these different people who are all getting rich because they saw Superman 3. And they're like, oh, Richard Pryor takes a tenth of a penny off of every transaction. That seems really smart. Even though he's a comedian and he's a villain of the film and Superman's the good guy, they say to themselves, I could be the one taking that tenth of a penny. And then we have these businesses like the juicery and so forth, where they are going on, they're saying, no, we could get that 3% back. We could get that, payment back, get it through another rail, get it through Venmo, Bitcoin, Cash App, whatever it's going to be. It's interesting to see it. As you say, Victoria, it's all about that idea where the world is in trouble. Businesses are in trouble and people are counting their pennies and they're looking at their margins and they're saying an extra 3% could make or break the business. If we switch and teach everyone to use Bitcoin or Cash App and we get that 3% back, it could save the business. So I do think it's a good sign, but it's also a sad sign for the world. And then as far as the 21 cents, yeah, I think it's too small. I think fast food workers need more. How about $2.10? And it says in the comments, they think that the fast food workers might be getting the Bitcoin. I'm not sure if this is 21 cents in Bitcoin. Like, that'd be nice, I guess, but it's really small. It's really a small amount. I know we all believe in Bitcoin and it's going to be worth billions of dollars and stuff, but if a fast food worker saves 21 cents an hour, it's not quite an effective savings rate. Maybe again, if the corporation is so wealthy and so benevolent and so kind and wonderful to its workers that it makes slave over the grills, maybe it could do a matching program and the employees could choose how much they want to put in and then the company could match it. And then that would be really great for people because matching programs really, if you take advantage of them, can be great. It's a lot more than 21 cents though. You have to stop eating Starbucks or something. I know. Moving on, we've got some short issues here, just real briefly. Netherlands to tax unrealized Bitcoin gains. We've heard about this before. It's a very bad idea for something like Bitcoin or stocks where the value is going up or down. You never know if it's a top. You never know if you need to sell. What they seem to be saying here, and it's horrifying, is that the Netherlands government would be taxing people if it goes up, even if they don't sell. So they wouldn't have the money, but they're going to tax them. Victoria Jones, I know you're against this idea, but what do you think about the Netherlands potentially actually putting it into practice?
I think it's they're going to find that quite difficult to do because it's clearly discriminating against Bitcoin. I mean, obviously they've had laws about capital gains tax for a long period of time, but the idea is that, it's capital gains across the board. So if they start doing that just for Bitcoin, when do they start doing that for other things? And there are going to be people who don't understand Bitcoin who have assets who are going to go, hang on a minute, what's this totalitarian tiptoe? And it's that classic thing, when I didn't speak up for this marginalized part of the population, no one spoke up for me. So I think there will be some people kind of going, you can't do that just and single out one asset. And also it's a very volatile asset. I mean, who's to say, there have been years where Bitcoin was down on the previous year. And we also know that over time, the price of Bitcoin will stabilize out. So, and how do you judge whether or not, it was fair to tax someone last year because of the gain, but it's not fair this year? I think that's really problematic, and especially once Bitcoin starts being taken by businesses and stuff like that. I mean, it's already hugely complicated to work out what your tax liability is, even with the various tools. I think, they're just chasing the drain with their policies now. The things they're trying to implement, governments and stuff, just to try and keep themselves alive. They're really scraping the barrel of where they can get extra tax from people when they've been overspending it for years. And, the writing is on the wall and disaster is on the horizon. And eventually we're going to see it. It's just a matter of time. But yeah, I think there will be. I'd be surprised if there weren't people in the Netherlands government that push back on that, because it is discriminatory just to go for one asset. If it's doing well, there's a reason. So
I think you've nailed on the perfect argument there, Victoria. Why don't we do this for stocks too? Oh, that's great. Oh, we're not doing that for stocks. Oh, you want to do it for, just keep latching it on there and just keep reminding people this is obviously what they're going to do for you. They're going to come for your unrealized gains for your stocks. And just like you don't know the top of the stock market, you don't know the top of the Bitcoin market either. Nobody does. Nobody plays this perfectly, even with AI and computers, and maybe that will help. But no, it's a terrible idea. It's a desperate government idea. And also a bad sign. Also a bad sign. This just in, Coinbase announces a new quantum computing advisory board. The board will publish position papers on the state of quantum computing, issue guidance to users, developers, and institutions, respond in real time to major quantum breakthroughs. And again, bravo to Coinbase. Clap, clap, clap. This is exactly what Bitcoin needed. People are worried about quantum computing. I don't think it's a valid fear at all, but you don't have to take my word for it. You could go to Coinbase, talk to this quantum advisory board. If you were a journalist and you were going to write a story and you need a quote, there's somewhere to go now. They can say it's not a big deal. And in the same way, if it becomes a big deal, they can ring the alarm and the coders will come down from the mountain and will change the algorithm and will fix Bitcoin. And then they'll have to fix all of the bank security computers and all of the stock markets and all the other things that quantum computing would break, which again are much bigger than Bitcoin, but it's fun to focus on Bitcoin. This is a great move by Coinbase. It's what the industry needs. Victoria, what do you think? Great for Coinbase, great for Bitcoin?
Yeah, I mean, Coinbase is probably the one place that has the resources to do it, and obviously it's one of the arguments that's often brought up against the future proofing of Bitcoin. So yeah, good for them.
And we've got one more story today, just again to ring the bells and celebrate. Institutional crypto adoption has passed the point of reversibility. PricewaterhouseCoopers says, PwC says, the large investment firm says that Bitcoin is here to stay. Institutions are into Bitcoin. It can never be unwound. We've talked about this before. Of course, we've all seen Back to the Future, and we know about the point of no return, the point where they can no longer stop the experiment. You're going to go to the future or you're going to explode. We're there with Bitcoin. There is no return. There is no going back. All the king's horses and all the king's men could never put the old financial world together again. So just great to see more capitulation. Jamie Dimon, also a big Bitcoin critic, suddenly a big fan of Bitcoin. Victoria, what do you think about PricewaterhouseCoopers throwing in the towel, saying it's over, Bitcoin wins?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, really? Because, for many, many years, ever since 1971, when Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard, people have been predicting disaster for the financial system. And it's almost like, rather than actually approaching that moment of disaster, digital currencies have kind of stepped in to give us a lifeline. And for that, I'm very grateful because, I think a general financial meltdown would be horrendous. It would be civilization ending. So we've definitely been given a lifeline. I think Bitcoin, by keeping the existing financial system accountable, is also a very good thing. And I think we've got this opportunity to understand better exactly where we've come from financially, and all of these discussions, all the people who comment on Bitcoin, those that invest in it, those that use in their businesses, are all part of this melting pot of trying to understand what our money is and trying to figure out what the best path forward is for the future. I mean, one of the things I put at the end of my book is I don't think that Bitcoin is the ultimate solution. There was a time in history where human beings managed their interactions very, very differently. And we're at a very unique point in history in the way in which the existing financial system has evolved that has given us this problem. And I think Bitcoin is a very useful tool for helping us to avoid disaster. But I do think that there's another step beyond that. And I think everything that's going on at the moment is an opportunity to educate people, those who are interested, as to what is going on so that we can find even better solutions in the future.
Well, as I've said today, it's all about the analog to digital conversion and what's happening in our world. Bitcoin is just part of that. Everything's coming online, whether you like it or not. And that happens to the old bankers. That's happening to lawyers now, as people are saying ChatGPT might be better than lawyers. All of these jobs that thought they'd never be replaced, that the world would never be changed. They even wrote it in their rules and they codified and they said, the world will never change. You will always look at our old books and our old rules. The world's changing, their rules are changing, and it's all part of this analog to digital conversion. We have a special bonus for you. We have all the issues for last week's show. So we're just going to do a quick review of last week's show. I know this is old news, but this is the Bitcoin group that would have been if I didn't lose my voice right before the show and I didn't want to do a half voice show. Also, it's been hard to get guests over the holiday season. So let's check it out. Issue 1 last week would have been the crypto bill is dead. As it says here at Aaron R. Day on Twitter, every crypto bro cheering this bill is either on Coinbase's payroll or can't read. I read all 278 pages. You're getting played. Nobody liked the crypto bill. It limited stablecoin activities. It allowed entrenched companies like banks and others to take over. It was regulatory clarity, or as it says here by Aaron, compliance theater that kills everything crypto was built upon. Thank goodness, though, Brian Armstrong, again, CEO of Coinbase, friend of Bitcoin, came through and killed the bill, saying that we'd rather have no bill than a bad bill. He said that there are too many issues in this bill, including a de facto ban on tokenized equities, DeFi prohibitions, giving the government unlimited access to your financial records and removing your right to privacy, erosion of the CFTC's authority, stifling innovation and making it subservient to the SEC, draft amendments that would kill rewards on stablecoins, allowing banks to ban their competition. This is apparently one of the major sticking points, that the banks want to ban interest on stablecoins, basically making their savings accounts better than your stablecoin savings accounts. Brian Armstrong stood up and did this. It was a potential disaster for him. The Trump administration was very angry at Brian for killing the bill, for splitting off, for going his own way. But it looks like the best thing for crypto. They're workshopping the bill. They say they're going to bring it back in a few weeks. Again, I think no bill is the best bill, especially in this uncertain and really strange political environment. But again, hats off to Brian Armstrong, another huge success for Coinbase, stopping the bill at least for a few weeks. Victoria Jones, what do you think about the action in America, the cryptocurrency regulation?
Yeah, I mean, it's scandalous, isn't it? And it just goes to show, how much legislation kind of gets pushed in under the back door. And all credit to both the person on the tweet and also Brian Armstrong for taking the trouble to read it properly and point out what the problems are, because absolutely, these are problems that we've been speculating about with governments and digital currencies. The governments are not as stupid as we thought they were. They understand where they're vulnerable, and they're trying to use the tool they still have to try and undermine that. And people need to be very vigilant and push back. And so well done to the people who've done that.
And the banks definitely have a reason to worry about stablecoin interest, as it says here at Crypto Rover. Breaking: Bank of America CEO warns that interest-bearing stablecoins could drain $6 trillion from U.S. banks, crippling lending and sending borrowing costs soaring. Translation: banks are insanely afraid of crypto. Moving on to issue 2, would have been from last week. Breaking: former New York City Mayor Eric Adams launches a meme coin that hits $580 million in market cap before crashing 80% in a matter of minutes. Nearly $500 million in market cap has been launched since the post-launch peak. Later on, at Rune Crypto _ accused Mayor Adams of allegedly removing liquidity from his new meme coin at NYSE Coin, scamming investors of over $2.5 million. He launched a meme coin just 30 minutes ago and has removed the liquidity after promoting it on social media, claiming to be the NYSE token. Thomas Hunt, what do you think of this? Well, it's really disappointing. And again, it's another conservative figure launching his own coin. Maybe it would have been better if it was Adams Coin, something with his name. But it's awful to see this kind of rug pull, to see normal people, I guess, thinking they thought they were going to make money on NYSE Coin, that they were early, that they had the right news or the right inside information, and they were going to jump in at $1 and sell it $1.50 or whatever their plan was. It went horribly. NYSE Coin allegedly, apparently, a big scam. Although, again, I mean, if the idea was to give Eric Adams $2.5 million to do what he wants to do, it worked. If Bernie Sanders or AOC or any liberal figure launched their own coin, even though everyone would lose their money, it would enrich that liberal figure in the same way we've seen Trump coin, Melania coin, Donald Jr. coin, Eric Trump coin, whatever it is, each one a smaller and smaller failure, although each one providing money and resources to seemingly a series of conservative figures. Now, the former mayor of New York City, Victoria Jones. What do you think about NYSE Coin?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a scandal, and it amazes me that people are still falling for this stuff. Really amazes me. I mean, how many people now have seen this happen over and over again? It's just like, guys, just stay away. But no, so.
Well, there's a sucker born every minute. And if you think about how many minutes there are on the day, there are just a lot of suckers. And again, the idea that he was a legit New York City mayor and he had New York City coin, and you put those two together and you say, oh, that's going to make money, that's going to be popular. And I'm impressed at this one. I mean, not happy impressed, not like excited, but more like you're impressed with the spread of a virus, or impressed with the rat population. You look at something like that, how fast they did it this time, how fast they gave up on it. The up was this, oh, it's at this, oh, sell this. The take doesn't even really seem to be very large. Of course, I think this is the same gentleman that allegedly took as low as maybe $30,000 from Turkish Airlines, as well as free seats to wherever Turkish Airlines goes. Can't be that great. So his standards aren't very high for selling out. But it just goes to show at a small level, if a New York City mayor could pull down this kind of coin, what could a senator or a representative pull down if they decided to sacrifice their reputation in the same way that Mayor Adams has sacrificed his. Moving on to issue 3, would have been last week. Crypto YouTube views sink to the lowest level since early 2021. It's not just X. And it's sad to see that Bitcoin content and crypto content is going down. I think there could be a lot of reasons for this. As it says here, people are upset that there's been too many scams, too many rug pulls, people putting money into meme coins, not just NYC coin, but just ketchup and mustard coin, whatever's going on I don't even remember the name, whatever that platform is, Victoria, with all the scams. What's the coin platform? Anyway,
I don't know. I don't pay attention to it.
there's lots of pump.fun,
Okay.
because yeah, it's an action. I love the name. Pump.fun, other things like this. People are tired of that stuff. They still think cryptocurrency is confusing. They think that their neighbor or their buddy or their cousin made a lot of money on it, and they think that it's passed them by. I also think that the crypto industry has been hurt a lot by the turn to the right wing. Whether you're right wing or not, choosing one side limits the appeal of cryptocurrency. And I think we're seeing this as people say, oh, that's a Trump thing, or oh, that's a MAGA thing, or whatever, which is horrifying because crypto doesn't care either way. But it does seem publicly at this time, it's chosen to go right. Victoria Jones, what do you think about crypto views going down? It also could be the takeover of X by Elon Musk. We used to get a lot more views from Twitter when Twitter was Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, the value of Twitter has definitely gone down. There's no doubt about that. And I think the problem with crypto on YouTube is that now that it's become more popular, there are a lot of more professional commentators that are actually wrong half the time. You know, if you think about the number of people who make price predictions, it's a bit like the one we had from Cathie Wood, who's actually a professional financial advisor right at the beginning. You know, you've got all these people from the financial world that people are more inclined to take seriously. All the people who actually understand what's going on have been sidelined, or their views, the views of their channels has gone down significantly. I mean, look at what's happened to the views on the World Crypto Network. It's just like the people who actually know what's going on are completely ignored, and the people who just want to hype the price, everyone's following them, and then they're completely hugely disappointed when it doesn't work out the way it's predicted. I mean, some of the predictions from last year were just ridiculous. You know, how many people were insisting, how many professional people were insisting that, you know, we're going to be over 150 grand by the end of the year. I mean, you know, we were lucky to get remotely close to that, and some predictions were just even higher. And I think people have just had enough of it. You know, life is so stressful. Yes, there are people who've done well from Bitcoin, but you know, we're not in the same situation anymore. The dynamics are still there, but you know, the huge growth. I mean, 2017, the price of Bitcoin went up 20 times. It hasn't done that in, you know, the last 6 years like it has before. So there are a lot of people who are investing in Bitcoin hoping that it's about to do the same thing, but you know, because of everything else that's going on, it's holding it back and slowing it down. I think there will be a time when it takes off, but you know, we're against some really sophisticated players now, and that can't be discounted.
It does seem like a lot of YouTubers took the quick and easy path of promoting this altcoin or promoting this meme coin or promoting this altcoin. And the general idea behind all of this is that you're going to get rich by watching this content. This YouTube channel is the one for you. And I think that works in the short term. It doesn't work in the long term. And like Victoria said, we've had a bear, bull / market. It's been up and down. It hasn't been straight up. And the only way that those kind of crazy altcoin or crazy meme coin plays work is if we're in a straight up market and everyone has too much money and there's some billionaire out there who's backing up Fartcoin because he thinks it's funny. And you're there investing with your thousands and they're playing around with billions, and it's not the same game. And I think a lot of people got tired of playing that game, and they're done with crypto YouTube and crypto Twitter. So
Gold and silver, the meme coin this year.
I know everyone's going to start making YouTube videos. You haven't heard about the newest currency, gold. It can be used in computers and melted down and formed into bars. Oh my goodness, mad gold coins, mad silver. Let's do it. But let's move on to issue 4 from last week. Iran's Revolutionary Guard moved $1 billion for UK registered crypto exchanges, reports find. The downside of cryptocurrency, groups like the Revolutionary Guard can move money. However, The upside, Iran's crypto economy hit $7.8 billion in 2025 as protests fueled Bitcoin use, according to Chain Analysis. Crypto activity accelerated in 2025, driven by civilians and state actors turning to Bitcoin during periods of unrest. Victoria, it's quite what we say around here. Bitcoin is the best and the worst. All of the protesters use it. The government and the Iranian National Guard use it as well. How do you think it's going at communicating this to people? Are they getting the whole message? That, again, I just sound like I'm quoting The Invention of Lying by Ricky Gervais, where it's, God killed your cousin, but God also gave you that new baby that you love. God gave you the cat, but they also, murdered that whole town of people. In the same way, Bitcoin is great for protesters and great for governments at the same time.
I think these arguments are very nuanced, and there are many, many layers and levels of understanding with what's going on with something like Iran. I mean, I did a talk in Mallorca last year talking about Bitcoin and war. And one of the things I pointed out in that talk is that there are very few central banks that are actually linked in to the Bank for International Settlements. And one of the ones that isn't included is Iran. And interestingly, another one of the ones that isn't included is Venezuela. And why is it that those are the countries that are most often villainized? I mean, obviously, there are problems with their governments and their legislation, but even then, how much of that information is very skewed and very biased, because we in the West live under the majority system that they want those minorities to be part of, and are punishing them because they're holding themselves back and they don't want to be included. And actually, as much as we vilify them, maybe it's these countries that are actually still the ones that are holding back from the world being completely overtaken by the existing financial system. It's a very nuanced and interesting argument. I mean, if you want to know more about that, I encourage you to go and watch the talk on my YouTube channel. It's called Bitcoin and War, where I break it down. But there are reasons why these countries are vilified, and I actually support the fact that they're at least trying to stand up. And of course, the protesters in these countries are trying to stand up for the problems as well. Their perspective might be a little bit different, but in many ways they're fighting a similar battle. It's interesting, and never take anything that the media tells you at face value. There's way more going on behind the scenes.
Well, it's been clear for us and on this show and various shows for a long time that Bitcoin crushes sanctions. Bitcoin crushes monetary controls of all kinds, whether you're in favor of them or whether you're against them. Bitcoin crushes things like money laundering laws in the United States, previously used to capture drug kingpins and people in Miami with boats and giant piles of cocaine, now can be used to catch everyone, but Bitcoin just goes right around it. It allows both the freedom fighter and the terrorist to do what they want to do with their money, and you can debate that all you want, but it just kind of allows it. So it's interesting to see it happen here in Iran on both sides, although you had to read 2 articles to get that. If you just read one article, you think Bitcoin's terrorist money. If you just read the other article, you think it's protester money, a little bit of government in there too. But again, it's both. And that's frustrating and confusing to people. And I don't know how to make that any better. It's cognitive dissonance. You're just going to have to hold both ideas in your head at the same time. Issue 4 last week would have been grab bag. We have quite a few grab bag stories. We're just going to recap them quickly for you and then do a little highlights. Tether freezes $182 million in USDT tied to 5 Tron addresses. We're always talking, oh, Tether's so great, USDC, all these things, USDT are so great. But unlike Bitcoin, they can freeze your money for any reason they want. If you donate money to something they don't approve of, they'll freeze your account. So freezing accounts is back thanks to Tether. Donald Trump claims that he'll grant clemency to the Samurai wallet builders. These developers created software designed to protect Bitcoin privacy and paid the price for it. He claims that he will grant them clemency. I'd like to see it. CoinGecko considers sale valued at approximately $500 million, according to sources. Coindesk. We've seen this happen before in the past with the Blockfolio app. Everyone said, oh, Blockfolio, that's not important. Then FTX bought it, changed it into the FTX app, and got an instant invitation to lots of customers who probably have cryptocurrency. It's also a really valuable list of who has how much. So CoinGecko, far more valuable than you probably thought. The United States Supreme Court failed to issue a ruling on the President Trump's tariffs. This is before the president promised to tariff all of Europe and before he pulled back the tariffs from all of Europe. The Supreme Court has once again pulled back their decision for a third time. They will not tell us if tariffs are legal or not. I don't know why they are not doing it. Previously, it was lined up with the Minnesota shooting. People thought maybe they're holding back because of the shooting. Now, the Greenland tariff disaster has been presented in our eyes again. Maybe they want to change their mind on the tariffs. I don't know, but they're not releasing it to us, and it's irritating. The markets just dumped after President Trump commented on the Fed, saying that he would probably not be moving Hassett over to the Fed chair. This dropped the market just to show again how much is going on out there. Victoria Jones of the Grab Bag, did any of these stories strike you as interesting? Anything you'd like to mention again?
Yeah, well, obviously, Tether stopping that much money on the blockchain, it's another form of CBDC, isn't it, really? Without the surveillance tool as yet, it's not going to take much in order to transfer that. I have noticed that the peg for Tether has been slipping over the last month, so that might have something to do with it. Maybe a lot of people starting to lose their trust in Tether, but then again, I know that it's being used quite frequently in a lot of third world countries. I mean, Brian Armstrong in that clip you showed earlier was talking about the fact that, in places like Turkey and Nigeria, they'll go for Bitcoin as a way of preserving their value, but actually in a lot of third world countries they'll use things like Tether instead because they understand the value of the dollar. They don't understand Bitcoin yet. So obviously you've got big criminal gangs using Tether, but you've also got people who otherwise would be in a lot of poverty also using Tether. So yeah, it's a tricky one really, because it's established itself now as a very strong brand and people have started to rely on it. So the moment it starts to fail, it's a bit like the FTX collapse. That would be a bit of a disaster, wouldn't it?
Well, it's another round of learning for those sad people. They get out of one frame where they're like, oh, the Argentinian dollar or whatever is no good. We lose all our value in that. They move to a so-called stable coin, which just on its face seems suspect. It's like, this is stable. This stays at the same price. There's nothing that can do that. I mean, even if you had a Big Mac coin, at least the great part about it, you can trade it for a Big Mac. To have the stable coin, it's stable to the US dollar. You can trade to a dollar. No one knows what the value of a dollar is, let alone the potential, like Victoria is saying, problems with the companies, problems freezing the coins. Why not freeze all the coins? Why not shut down the whole thing? I can see these people going through a whole second round of learning where they're like, no more government coins, no more corporate coins, only Bitcoin. And that's going to be, again, a painful learning process where people lose all of their money, or they lose, their potential, or they don't get the gains of Bitcoin. They thought they were in cryptocurrency because they were in stable coin, but it's not stable like a horse. It's a different kind of stable. So it doesn't go up. Any of the other stories, Victoria? I mean, I haven't heard an update on the samurai pardon. Maybe he just said that at a press conference.
Well, it would fit the trend, wouldn't it? He's pardoning everyone in crypto, almost everyone in crypto, isn't he? So, why not the samurai guys as well?
We've also been predicting for a long time that Theranos, Elizabeth Holmes, would get back into the game. And there is an article circulating right now saying that she is requesting a pardon from President Trump. Why can't I have one too? They pardoned those people from that reality show, Crisley Knows It All. They pardoned the Honduran president, who's allegedly a drug dealer. They've pardoned lots of people accused of fraud, and not even accused of fraud, but convicted of fraud. I think for CZ and for even, I want to say allegedly BitMEX, their executives had already been, had pled on the money laundering. So they were already guilty, from the system, and they got that reversed. They got a pardon. So that's been good.
I mean, CZ went straight from jail to the World Economic Forum, didn't he? So it's just like it's becoming just completely meaningless now.
It's quite a surprise to see him pop up there. And again, what a horrible nightmare for Brian Armstrong. He's the Boy Scout. He does everything right. He's running the cleanest exchange in the business. And here comes this pirate who hops from country to country. And anytime you try to tax him, he moves next door. He's speaking at the same forum. He's on the same stage. He's getting a similar level of respect. And he should. If he moved $14 billion through his bank in a week, I mean, all power to you. It's incredible. So yeah, I think also,
it's not his bank anymore, is it? He was just the inventor.
Yeah, it's just his invention. I wouldn't fall asleep on the CoinGecko story. Those are more valuable than we think, those apps that check the price. So I think that'll go through. And that's about it.
Oh yeah,
data
costs. Data is a valuable commodity these days.
Most definitely. And I do think someone will buy it. The last thing I had last week is just I wanted to promote this great movie I watched called General Magic. There was a company in 1989 that had the iPhone. They had all of the interface, they had the apps, they had the mail, they knew everything that it was going to be. They recruited a couple of amazing guys from Macintosh, Andy Hertzfeld, some of the other founders and creators of Macintosh came over to this company. They had the best crew I've ever seen. And you'll have to watch the movie to see how it turned out. It's a documentary called General Magic, and it's great if you're into technology documentaries. I think it's on YouTube, so you can just pull it up on there. Victoria, do you have a prediction or a story of the week for this double long episode that we just pulled off in record time?
Well, I normally give you a story or an update on my website, but actually I've not been paying much attention to it over the last few months. I've had a lot going on behind the scenes, but hopefully I'll be starting to pick up on that soon. But other than that, no, I don't have a prediction and no interesting stories. Sorry.
And you can check it out at satoshispage.com. You can still get Victoria's book, How Bitcoin Fixes This, on Kindle or on hardback. Pretty cool. I read it last year. And audiobook? Ooh. Did you read the book yourself?
What, my own book?
Yeah.
Of course.
Oh, how fun.
And I spoke it on audiobook as well. And it was in the top 20 best audiobooks of all time on Book Authority. So
see, that sounds fantastic. There's a whole nother job for you there, reading audiobooks. I think that'd be great. So everyone check out Victoria's book on audiobook. And thanks to everybody for joining us. Be sure to give us a thumbs up and push subscribe. Shout out to everybody in the chat who joined us live. And we'll see you again next week. Until next time, bye-bye.